So my name is Artem Mezin. Today is my first English talk, and any comments about this talk are really welcome. So please do, via any social media, direct me, no, don't do this and do that. I really appreciate it. A few words about me. I'm a senior front-end developer at Behavox, but today I'm going to deliver a full stack talk. Yeah, so I'm doing that for over 10 years and was always JavaScript-inspired developer. This talk also about JavaScript, sometimes TypeScript, but doesn't really matter. And a few words about GIFs. So if you can see a GIF on my slide, yeah, just forget about this slide. Nothing interesting is here. You can have a rest. If there is no GIF, I'm trying to say something important, I believe. What this talk is about? It's about remote access functionality. And probably some of you should be familiar with this. Did someone use, let's say, remote desktop protocol for Windows? Yeah? OK, that's the thing. Yeah? So you can get an access to the remote machine, do something there, enjoy. Why actually people do this? My answer is to collaborate. If you can do something together, it's definitely possible to do online via screen sharing, for example. Could be any options like, I like the first one, yeah, to teach and to learn. Why not? But our case at Behavox, it was to support. Yeah, we wanted to deliver support to our clients and need to come up with some kind of solution, which I'm going to talk today about. Nothing exciting because it exists everywhere for decades, yeah, ages. It exists, as I said, even on the level operating systems, and actually that's true with some buts. Most of the solutions have some cons, like it's granted an access to the entire system, and sometimes you don't want to do this. If your clients are banks, you don't want to have an access to bank computer, trust me. Like, no, you don't want to take this risk on your shoulders. And also, you don't want to obligate your users and yourself to install something. And all of this sounds like web application. If we can deliver remote access functionality via web application, it would be great, yeah, because browser very, very isolated programs. It's ensured by Google, so we can trust it. Nice try, but how? Yeah, what should we do to implement it? Actually, if you can answer for these three questions, it should be enough. The first question is how to share the screen, actually how to get this image from the user side. And even if you can get it, how to transfer the flow of events to the client side, yeah, and perform it there. You want to keystrokes on your machine and see letters, characters on the client's one. And the third question, it's more like investigation. Is it possible to run this application within any context, not particularly with your application, which you are developing right now, but with any, like Gmail? Let's go. The first question about screen sharing, I related three options, two libraries, and one native API, which eventually I came up with. So let me do a quick overview of these solutions. HTML to Canvas, it's pretty old library, works really well. The idea behind this is great. You can grab a part of your DOM tree and render it onto the canvas. If you get a canvas element, you can get a media stream of changing on this canvas element. If you can do it in a loop, let's say, yeah, you can grab the entire screen. Yes, but it took 27 seconds to render a Gmail app. Not for screen sharing, definitely. But it could be an option for doing screenshots. Together.js, another library, is written by Mozilla. And actually, it does what I want to achieve. Yeah, it provides us with a remote access functionality. But the trick is that you have to have absolutely similar DOM trees on both sides. It doesn't share the screen, it shares DOM tree. Not my option, just because if you are able to build a absolutely the same DOM tree, it means that you have an access to the user's data. Let's say to build a DOM tree of Gmail app, you have to have all messages. Not very secure. And the third option is a quite modern native API, initially released by Chrome, get display media. It works absolutely the same like get users media works. Does anyone know what get user media API does? It grabs your web camera stream. So you can put the video stream from the web camera to the canvas element or to somewhere else. Same stuff, but for sharing screen. And it works without any plugins. It used to work with a special Chrome extension. Now you don't need it at all. Works for 3 major browsers. For Edge, for sure, because it's not longer it's not longer an Internet Explorer, and unfortunately, it doesn't work for Safari. But yeah, it is what it is. It's nothing to do here. But for Chrome, it works perfectly on Windows, Ubuntu, and macOS everywhere. I'll show you later how. But grabbing this stream from the user stream is not enough. We have to transfer the stream to the host site. When we're talking about transferring media streams, it makes sense, at least for me, to talk about WebRTC, another native API. And now I really want to ask who is familiar with WebRTC here? Did you try it? Do you use it in production? Great, so I'm in the right place. It's a native API which allows 2 browsers establish a direct connection over UDP or TCP. With this connection, you can transfer any kind of data. Usually it works for audio or video streams, but also you can pass any kind of serialized data, like, I don't know, JSON object, make a string and pass via this connection. Again, it's a direct connection, P2P, so you don't need any servers between your 2 peers, which is great in terms of costs. No server, no payment for the server. But it's impossible to establish this connection directly. So if you think about 2 Chrome browsers somewhere in the internet, and you ask them to establish this connection, it's impossible in terms of modern network architecture. So at least those two browsers need to know an IP addresses of each other, yeah, and exchange this information somehow. For this exchange and purpose, unfortunately or fortunately, you need to implement a server, so-called signaling server. Sounds a little bit scary, but it's super straightforward from client-side coding perspective. We have a list of APIs which returns an object, so-called offers or IC candidates. It's just a string, and you have to implement a server which makes possible to exchange messages of those two between those 2 browsers. When the exchanging process is done, browser automatically will establish a connection. That's exactly what we need. And I've been asked by Adam to prepare some kind of server-side stuff because it's node.js meetup after all. And I decided, okay, I can do this signaling. And started with Code.js framework, do all coding, make sure that it works locally, and realize that I spent so much time, and it's still not deployed. I have to maintain it, have to monitor somehow. Should be done easier in 2019, and it's possible to do it easier. I really want to share with you that if you need that simple messaging server, it's not longer about creating a project. It's about creating just 3 functions. AWS Lambda works perfectly. You can set up your API gateway to run your functions each time when a message has come to this WebSocket connection, which actually I did. From each of these functions, you have an access to database, so you can persist your state. Each connection, each message comes with a connection ID, you can store this connection ID for the future. And eventually, when the second connection from the same user has come, you understand who is the author of this message and what actually we want to do. Let's say we want to grab a message from one user by his name, yeah, and pass it to another. It's really simple. Don't want to spend too much time. There is a link there. You can just have a look. Works incredibly straightforward. I do recommend for everyone to try. And the third function needs to clean up your database when the user is disconnected, but I even didn't put it on the slides. It's nothing interesting here. Cool. So if we can put all together AWS Lambda-driven signaling server, WebRTC client-side work, and our get display media API, we can get some kind of application which actually shares the user screen. Let me open 2 tabs. Hey, cool. Yeah, I also grabbed the user's media just to make sure that it works on both sides. And I can be registered. It means that I'm going to establish a WebSocket connection, be registered as host, let's say here, as a client on the second tab, and make a call from, yeah, I'm registered as client, make a call from client side to the host one. That's what I was talking about. Standard screen, a dialog, ask me to share what part of my screen I want to share. I want to share just one Chrome tab. Yeah, it works. So, exactly, yeah. If you share this, your own screen, that's what you're supposed to see. It's really good that I can have a look at the different tab of my browser. Might be useful, but I cannot control it like at all. Yeah. So we should to answer the second question, I think, how to perform an event. I really want to do something on this side and to see the result on that side. I tried to find an answer, and I was struggling to do that. So I came up with my own solution. I was thinking like, actually, what a browser is doing when something from user side is happening, yeah, when some event is happening. And actually, there are only 3 things. Yeah, first of all, browser always knows which element is being operated right now internally. Yeah, you click on something, and browser definitely know what is this something. So if you can locate an element, would be great. For sure, browser dispatches an event, a JavaScript event. All of us know what it is. And after the event goes through the bubbling and hosting, yeah, standard action could happen. If you can reproduce these 3 steps, probably that's what we need. And actually we can. We can grab an element by a pair of coordinates. If we send from one side to another this pair of coordinates as a type of event, it could be performed on the client side. The small trick is how to reproduce a standard action. Yeah, you have to understand if you're clicking on some element, let's say on the button, yeah, you have to focus this button. If you're clicking on a checkbox, you have to mark this checkbox. Yeah, and that's actually what my library does. Yeah, I created a bunch of so-called actions. It's not real events because it's an action. It's an information about events. Each action knows how to be handled on the host side, how to perform on the client side. Actions are serializable stuff, so you can serialize it. Actually, Preoccupy.js can serialize it and pass from the host to the client. That's it. I created a bunch of slides where I'm talking how to install it, but actually you can see docs on GitHub, on npm.org, play with a demo application. More or less it works. I would be really appreciated if someone come and go through the code, maybe do some improvements. It's totally open sourced. And actually, that's the answer for the second question. Yeah. Now we can share the screen and we can do events remotely. Basically, we are cheating our browser because he doesn't know who is doing right now. Actually, he does, but in terms of single-page applications, it doesn't really matter who is operating on the application on the tab. And the third one, most interesting question, is it possible to use it not only to control screens like this? Yeah. Is it possible to use it somewhere where it might be useful? If you're struggling with some application like Spotify, why not? You can switch the track. You can ask your friend, can you do it for me? Or you're coding on JS Fiddle and ask someone to help you. And actually, yes, that's possible. It is possible. Do you know what Bookmarklets is? Did you try? Probably, yeah. It's another one old stuff. It was named by Brendan Eich. It's really old stuff. But it works. It still works. Trust me or not, but if you wrap your code in JavaScript column, make these pseudo protocols, a scheme actually, and store this part of the code in the bookmark bar of your browser, you can execute it within any context, within any page which is loaded right now in your browser. In terms of practice, it works great with the help of Bookmarklet loader for Webpack. Basically, you can compile your application, your client-side application, to the source code, wrap it with a JavaScript colon, and put on the href attribute of a tag, of a link tag. After that, you just have to ask your user to drag it into the bookmarks bar. Let's do it all together. Yeah, exactly. I keep running this part. It's going to be my host part. And I'm going to open something more useful. Surprisingly, it is Gmail. Let me check. No, it works. It should not be there. It might work. Yeah, that's my private message box. No secrets. Go through. Cool. There is a link that I have to drag to the bar. Yeah? And now when I hit this link, the same application is running here. And now a security question. WebSocket, what in a nutshell is the WebSocket connection? Is it an HTTP connection or not? Who does think that it's an HTTP connection? No? What is it? It's a WebSocket connection, yeah, but it came from HTTP connection. And in my mind, it should obey CORS, C-O-R-S policies. And surprisingly, it doesn't. Yeah, it actually means that you can establish a WebSocket connection to the third-party domain from this context. I'm a client now, yeah? It still works. They didn't fix it. Cool. I'm registered in my WebSocket channel as a client from this application, and I can be registered here. Let's make a call. Host. Share this part of my screen. Yeah. And now I have to init my Preoccupy.js. It could be done automatically, but for proof of concept, I just put the button. Init client. There is a second cursor over there. I can show you just in a second how it works. Init host. Cool. I can control my Gmail app. Oh. OK, let's do some strokes, like what usually people search in the Gmail app, like passwords, yeah? Oops, it broke. No. It is what it is. Yeah, it's still proof of concept, but it works. Yeah, I just want to emphasize that we don't use it in this way through Bookmarklet. For sure, you can put this piece of code just in your application. If you are a Gmail developer, you can grab it from the GitHub and put it there, I mean, in a legal way. But it also works through the Bookmarklet. If you are wondering how to prevent establishment of this connection, the answer is CSP. There's only one way to prevent third-party WebSocket connection is the proper CSP settings. So please do if you're doing something for public. Cool. The last funny slide. Any questions? Thank you very much.